Do, do. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. I remember last time I streamed, I changed some of my settings around, but I think we're caught up. I think we're good to go. Yo, welcome in, Lily. Hello, hello. How are you? Have you been enjoying Low Ink? I feel like usually in the evening I catch up like holistically, but I was able to watch about half the streamed rounds, so it's always a good time. It's always fun to see people. Like, that's the thing about like just playing the game and everything. Like you just kind of like, oh yeah, I played with that person in solo queue. Oh, I played with that person. Haven't yet, gotcha. Oh yeah, it's probably also a time zone thing for you as well. I think something that would be interesting to do, and maybe it would be less impressive than might be thinking, but it'd be interesting to see like how far we've come. Like if there was like comparing like a low ink set from, I mean, you could even do it in like Splatoon 2 if those earlier ones were archived and properly documented, but it'd be interesting to go back and see like what low level in the community look like now versus before versus whatever, because people always say, yo, what's up, Nia? Welcome in, Soup. Hello, hello. I feel like everyone always talks about like, oh man, all the good teams are low ink banned, so who's left? And then there's always like, whenever I feel like every time I watch a stream, like it is lower level, so there's a lot of common pitfalls that teams and players fall into, which makes sense when they're earlier on into their journey. But it's also kind of, I don't know, I feel like the level of play, just generally watching, I feel like has gotten better. But I don't actually, I haven't like gone back and actually looked. A few million low level dudes, holy. Should I do the showcase stuff to get people to know them more? Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. It's nice just to be able to like see people and stuff. That's the other thing with like streaming and stuff, where like, I don't know, like whenever people stream, it's just like there's so much of their personality that you can see, and it makes the games like way more enjoyable. Like even for people I'm not necessarily, like, not because I don't like them or anything, but just like I'm not necessarily friends with people, but I'll like check out their streams, and then it adds like a level of like excitement and a bit of I don't know if relatability is the right word, but there's like more at stake, I guess, because there's that personal, like, oh yeah, I know that person, I know, like, you know, I guess it's more story building, where you kind of can like see their journey and have them talking about the game, watching them grind other stuff. I know people have said it for a while, but definitely having more, what's it called? What am I trying to say? Like having more presence and marketability. Not that people need to necessarily be marketed, but just so it feels more interesting. Yo, what's up, Fizzy? Stay alive. Make sure the phone survives. Don't let the phone get KO'd. Guess who's in the FA now? Oh no. Hope that was mutual. If hopefully there's nothing. I mean, I don't know. Like stuff moving around. Teams are a lot like relationships. I mean, there are literally a bunch of intermingled relationships within a within a team. That's what it literally is. But I don't know. It really is like you can have lessons learned, you can improve from a situation and it not be the right situation, you know? Yeah, I feel you, I feel you. But, you know, it's one of those things where like just you should be proud of yourself for just like, you know, going through the process of finding a team, you know, scrimming, practicing, playing in tournaments, you know, it's like throwing like y'all throwing yourself out there and being able to learn from it is like probably like the best life lesson that you can have. Phone's at 3%. Let's go. I remember my phone battery, there was like a recall on one of the phones I had way back when. And if I ever watch any sort of video, like my phone battery lasted like an hour. Like over time it degraded, but they had like some sort of class action on it. But anyways, like I would plug my phone in while I'm watching like a YouTube video or a stream on my phone and the percentage would go down. Like I couldn't actually watch. But best of luck on your fine, yeah. The bit of, oh yeah, so are you planning on playing VDS or Slosher, or where are you at in terms of weapon pool? I haven't seen a ton of your VDS, which maybe we might be seeing that today, very momentarily. But are you in like a bit of a weapon crisis right now, or where's your Slayer flex? I feel that. I feel that. I think both weapons are totally fine. They're just like the way you have to play them is like a little bit different. Like it sounds silly, but in solo queue, like I've been spamming some solo queue and I've been playing different weapons, but they're all like shooters. Like jumping from like T-Tech, because I played like T-Tech, I played Splash, I played Zap, I played 52. And I know the common sentiment is like, oh yeah, they're all shooters, it's like the same thing. But there's very distinct differences that just playing all of them, which probably wasn't a good idea for my my X rank. But it was very interesting, like immediately swapping from one to the other and like feeling the difference. Because especially with like 52, it's very, I mean, I think anyone that plays 52 knows, like when you start shooting that weapon, you go into tank mode very quickly and you lose like all your momentum and it's hard to like move and shoot compared to playing other weapons. But the whole flow between painting and needing to be aggressive and needing to get into positions is like, I play 52 on and off and I feel like I always have, like there's parts where I'm like, okay, once I've played 52 for a little bit, I feel comfortable, but I never really understand why. But as I was playing games yesterday, a lot of it was like, yeah, I have to, like, you have to really change and shift your mentality when you're playing 52 because it requires you to like just movement is just different. It's not necessarily better or worse. I think it is probably a little bit worse, but obviously if you have a wall and you can two-shot, like it's, the pros often outweigh the cons, but you do have to look at the game and play the game a little bit different, which is a fun challenge to throw yourself into. I don't know how to get the 3 dots, so unfortunately I'll be unable to do that. Then this is a echo. And this was a scrim. So the notes on this, all mechanically good. I want us to be able to play to our advantageous situations and speed more. Also some mental related tips for broader perspective. I'm not sure in terms of mental tips where they are on that. So I'm gonna ping them and maybe they can jump in and give a little bit of explanation. I mean, they might just be talking about like the mental side of like playing competitive, but that's like a very broad topic, which I can like talk on points, but I don't know if I'm gonna hit the parts that they specifically are looking for. So yeah. I'm not sure what FS is. I wish Battlefly had an easier time finding, maybe I can see them on Sundu's site. It'd be interesting. I don't know if any of these teams are playing in low ink right now, because I believe it is lower level. Lower level. Just for perspective. I'm interested if I can creep on them real quick and see if I can find get some additional context. Feral Savages. Did they? That's the team they're playing against. Did they play in low ink today? Let us see. Sorry, is this for my own personal curiosity? Okay, so they... Yeah, this is this month. They end up going 2-4. I wonder who they played against. 2-1-7. Arctic Blitz. I've seen those people. Alright, and then who team? So wait, is this Fried Calamari? Let me see. They put Fried Calamari in their thing, and FC would make sense to stand for that. But did they play, or will I be able to find them? I wasn't able to find them, so unlucky. But anyways, okay. So we're gonna jump into it. Yo, welcome in, welcome in. That is indeed you. Did y'all play in Blowing today by chance? Just wondering. I feel like in my experience as well, Div 7, Div 6 players, I've had a hard time getting on a consistent team. Yeah, I mean, they're each kind of like, and it's not really layered by division level, but like there's so many different experiences and perspectives at a lower level. And then as you continue to like try to continue to improve and increase, like, you know, all levels have to work around like, you know, on like an emotional level and, you know, understanding people's motivation, their goals, their drive behind the game. But yeah, definitely at like some of the a little bit lower level, you know, some people just want to like have a group of friends just to play the game with, which makes, you know, it's totally valid. And some people are, you know, just they're very competitive, but they're at like the very early beginnings of their competitive career, and they're like, you know, they're just actively looking to learn, actively looking to play, very, very hungry to start getting some results. And I think sometimes there can be a little bit of clashing. I agree with you. It definitely happens at lower levels because, like, you know, I mean, if you played the game for like long enough, you can still be casual and be like a top player, but you know, they had to put in a ton of work to get there, so there's just not quite as many top players versus lower level players. Um, but no, that's is a good point that I've definitely seen, and you know, as the level of competition continues to improve, I think that there's different struggles and challenges of what people are looking for and why things are potentially different, and yeah, it can be a whole thing. And then once you get to a certain point, I'm not sure what that point actually is, but as you get closer to a higher level, it gets to a point where it's like, is it worth spending a bunch of time to grind and like look to improve? Because like to go from like a high level team to like a top team, there's like, you have to like play a lot for very minimal like bits of improvement. And I think a lot of times that's why people like, you know, especially when they go through like lowing stuff and they make it to like, I forgot all the bracket names at this point, but I think there's like a gamma bracket now, maybe even an epsilon bracket. But I know like, you know, if you start out in like the lower brackets and kind of work your way up to beta to alpha and like get low ink band and stuff, it's like there's a lot of progress markers almost to improve. And then you get to a certain point where it's like you no longer have those progress markers and it feels really bad. But a lot of that comes back to the mental side, which if um you're still here, is it creamy? Apologize, please correct me. But in your notes you had mentioned, I know it's been a little bit, you mentioned a little bit in terms of like mental related tips. And I didn't know if there was like a very specific topic around that, because that can go into a lot of different areas. And I'd like to be as tailored toward what you're looking for as I can. But yeah, let me catch up real quick. Still feel like I learned a good amount about shot calling, gotten better at viewing VODs. Yeah, for sure. Again, it's all a journey, you know? Oh wait, Celeste, I don't know if I said hello. I read the reboomer comment a few times. I don't know if I ever said hello, but welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Hope life is treating you well. Hopefully you have some time off during the summertime. Focusing VDS, currently doing Slosher, Squelchy, Stamper, V-Shot. Oof. Splash and Zap play very differently, and yeah, for sure. People like to lump them all together, which like they're similar, you know. I'm not trying to say that there's like a whole difference, like a massive difference, but there are very significant differences to all of them. Yo, sons, hello. How you doing, gamer? Was there a challenge or something going on, or is it coming up? I think that was after the Splatfest, right? I think I ended up not having an opportunity to play in that, and I think there's like a later one, I'm not really sure. And welcome in Faith, hello. How are you today? I'm doing not too bad. I need caffeine. I need lots and lots of caffeine. Clams brush roller? Oh yeah, for sure. Picked up my flings having a blast. Oh, that's why you're talking about playing. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Cause remember you're talking about playing roller, and I'm like, wait, why are you not playing? Where's the stringer? Little did I know. All right, so let's get into the game. But yeah, if you're still here, Cremy, and again, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. If you wanted to elaborate a little bit on the mental side of like what you were looking to get answered, I'd love to dive into it. I love that side of it. Because the mental game is like really important, and I think it's something that's like, it's something that everyone needs to work on, but it's also something similar to mechanics that you have to like constantly sharpen. Everyone is prone to tilt, especially me yesterday when I was losing a bunch of ranked matches. But yeah. Anyways, for the challenge. Kind of fun. Funny, Flingza's my baby. I was eating. Dude, I love Flingza. When it first came out, missiles were like good, and they weren't nerfed and stuff. Like, whew. Good time. Good time. So, we are looking at this team. Yo, Jay Thunder. Welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you. Only seen you play one weapon. Also, I think if I remember properly, I think last time we watched y'all play, I think this was pre Inkjet being ridiculous, and I want to say y'all played 1 or even 2 ballpoints in the previous scrim that we watched. So I'm interested in weapon scope here. I don't know if the team itself changed, or people's interest changed, or why the comp is what it is now. I don't think this comp is bad. We're gonna look at it specifically from the Wiper's perspective, but Dynamo I think is actually pretty solid on this map. Anywhere where it can get over a lot of ledges is very beneficial. So obviously the verticality of this map lends itself to Dynamo having some success. It still is a little bit, it doesn't see as much play right now for a few reasons, but it is a little bit like slower and clunkier versus playing something like a sloshing machine or a tri-slosh, or a V-slosh or something. But I still think it's very solid, especially with Cooler being in the meta. I'm actually interested to see how this performs a little bit. And then Wiper I think's okay. I'm not sure how good beacons are on this map realistically. They're not bad, but I don't know. I'd be interested in why we're going Deco over. I feel like I'd rather have, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'd listen to a Wiper play, but I feel like the more aggro Wiper would make sense, but they're pretty good. Okay, gotcha. I guess I'm used to playing with like a backliner on this map, and we basically have like a dedicated anchor, so sometimes that blinds my perspective a little bit. Map can lock out. No, for sure. Preventing the lockout is probably the biggest piece of this map, of like figuring it out. And if you are controlling, like, so like let's say we're pushing this way, if we are like sitting over here, if we have like 4 people over here, and then we start pushing up a little bit and like 2 of us go down, and then there's only 2 of us here, like a lot of times it's better just to just back up to your side of the map again. Like, try to force them to use specials, but yeah. Even if you have to play back here, just avoiding a full wipe is worth. So I'm definitely with you. Blaster is also pretty good around ledges. I think S Blaster actually gets a lot of value from its flexibility with the 2 range modes, specifically on this map, just because there's a lot of interesting angles, just always basically. And then dualies, I think Crab is like, it's really hard to retake, which is generally where you want to get a lot of value with Crab, but in neutral, like, Crab is pretty solid. But this is why I'd rather us play like a V Wiper instead of the Wiper Deco here, is because I want us to look to be a little bit more aggressive when we have Cooler out. And like, again, it's just one playstyle versus the other. There's not one that's necessarily better than the other, but it kind of changes the dynamic of how we have to play. Now, when we look at the enemy team, Splash kind of makes sense. Heavy, I think, is pretty solid on this map. I think the slow, methodical retake with the Wavebreaker is actually very solid. And Stamper, just in general, can find itself in nice spots to get a lot of value. And it outranges all of these weapons, so they can play pretty big. This is gonna, like, both of these are gonna be kind of terrifying. So when we do pop missiles, or if we do look for a Cooler play, or if we're using a Crab as a team, we want to kind of commit to certain scenarios just to try to get those values. Because if we use our specials and we don't get this, like, my 2 concerns are like us getting wiped, which Again, like things like beacon can definitely help a little bit. But comp versus comp, I'm concerned about us using our specials, not getting enough value, and then getting locked out, not of the map, but like we lose opportunities to like be able to fight the enemy team at that point. But this map is pretty vertical, so there's definitely opportunities for us to go for sneaky flanks, and we have a lot of weapons that are able to do that, so we'll get into the game. I like the crusty Sean drip. Ouch. Alright, I'm gonna back it up a little bit in the intro. So this opening, this is one of the things that, and I kind of felt this, like I was talking about 52 before, like me playing 52. Like sometimes I feel it as well. Or like, you either have to commit yourself, because like painting, like getting good coverage with paint on a 52 is like really bad. So if you have to move, like sometimes it doesn't matter, you know, like if you have control of the map, like it's okay to paint because you don't have to move while you paint. But in spots where you have to move, like this was like I saw a lot more, my openings got a lot better when I played 52 because I, instead of trying to get broad paint toward my special, I just like kind of held forward and like focused having more momentum forward so I could take space early on. That's one thing we have to be careful about. If we are playing Wiper Deco, I don't think we go for the trench play and go for an aggressive play. I don't think we need to do that with our weapon, because if we're gonna like try to paint and we're like not going for speed, then we're allowing the heavy to get into this position, we're allowing Stamper to get into this position, and we're just like sitting in an open lane in that kind of situation. And that's one thing that we want to like keep in mind with what our role is. Like a lot of times with decos, like I usually see them like focus on getting early special paint. I see them get some like beacons down. It's like we're taking a path to go aggressive, but like we're not an aggressive weapon and we're not taking it as fast as possible. And you see us getting punished. Oops. You see us getting punished for that type of play. That's why this happens. Is because we're getting into this spot a few seconds later. And we're just casually painting in this open space where people can drop on us from a lot of different angles, and longer range weapons have an angle to hit us. So we need to be very deliberate with like how we're painting. And especially if y'all are in like a team environment, as a team, you want to figure out like, you know, what specials are we painting for at the beginning? Or are we painting for specials? Like I think usually having someone focus specials is probably not a bad idea. But, you know, you can certainly just have everyone hold forward and try to catch an enemy off guard. That is certainly an option. But we're kind of like in the middle of it. We're positioning very aggressive, but we didn't do it very fast. And this is like the punish for it. So, you know, like there's all this paint over here that instead of painting in this very dangerous area in the middle of the map, just like out in the open, we could have gotten this paint. We could have gotten like a beacon over here, and like we can slowly make our way and like still kind of contest the same areas, but do it a lot safer and be on high ground. So that feels like where a lot of this kind of went wrong. Is that we're pathing to be very aggressive and not focusing on specials, but we don't do it fast. So the enemy team can take the same positions and probably even build more special because of because they can't really get punished. So we get cooler missile, get a pick, that's nice. I'm interested to see how we play the camp. Okay, we got the pick on the Stamper. I was gonna say how we camp the landing as a team, but because sometimes people mess that up quite a bit. I do like us playing this relatively safe. Again, we're just sitting out in the open and we're asking to get punished. So I'd be really careful about that. Before we start cooking on the hold, let me quickly just go back to Olofsson. Because we're painting out in the open. Their heavy is up and close to being in position. They have a crab already out. Like, we can't just be like, because we're painting like we wiped the enemy team, but they're still in position to like fight. So we need to be more careful. And like, you know, if you want to get onto this wall, or if you want to get onto this wall over here, or if you want to, you know, play on this right flank, then you're certainly like able to do, like, commit to those plays. But I want you to be very committed to like whatever it is that you're trying to do. Because we've put ourselves into situations where like we can get punished. And against, as you play against like stronger and stronger opponents, like you're gonna get punished for this almost all the time. But for right now, like it's hit or miss. I think they've done a good job, and they almost got you here, but gotta be careful. Yo, welcome in. Is it Yewo? Yewu sounds maybe like it'd be correct, but please correct me. Do I make YouTube videos? I do. Yeah, thank you for the shameless plug. I appreciate that. I had a review that I did a couple days ago that like kind of popped off. I don't understand the YouTube algorithm, but it carried that one, so that was kind of neat. But yeah, there's a lot of video topics and ideas that I want to make. I'm going to do my best to commit myself to making something tonight. But yes, I want to be more regular with it, but yeah, your reviews are very good. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, normally my videos get like 50 to 100 views. This one got one. It's currently at 1.7K, which is far beyond the average and like my highest video. I think the storyline in the video like was actually pretty good, so I think that's why it did a little bit better. But also like the YouTube algorithm is just like it's not a mystery, but I'm gonna make another video and it's not gonna be quite as successful, so you never know. So we're out here requesting like 70 but it's fun. It's fun. I've been enjoying it, but yeah, thank you so much for the support and the kind words. I really do appreciate it. And then we end up backing up for special, but by that point we've already been pushed out, and we have to fight. We're using missiles to fight for the space that we shouldn't have had to give up if we position ourselves a little bit more proper. So what's the game plan? A little bit of mistiming between when we get the crab out and when the blaster's like looking for a play. I'm gonna come back to this team fight because I think there's some interesting properties of kind of what happened that I want to kind of go through. The sword fight, unfortunate. In TNT. All right, so the big thing that I want to kind of mention here is just the way that we're playing this whole thing. We'll go after you use missiles and after you get that initial pick. But when we have numbers, we need to be a little bit more aggressive with all of this. Like when they have two down like this, one of them just respawned in, and like we can't all be sitting back here. Like we're ideally, when we have a numbers advantage like this against their comp, we need to be looking to move forward because they have a stamper and they have a heavy. Which right now we know, like we don't know exactly. Maybe heavy was swimming in. I'll move it back a little bit. I'm not sure if we knew generally where the heavy was, but no, they were just playing back from the whole play. Probably when they got missiled, they backed up all the way. Yeah, I jumped off. Yeah, there's like a Stamper. Oh, Stamper's here. So Stamper, when they're in this kind of like position, like after we use missiles and they've gotten displaced, like one of the things that we want to do first off is like try to use that time to like get and give information on like where they're at. But as a team, like for our comp, we have to like look to play around the ledges a little bit more proactively, a little bit faster. We can't have two of our weapons just like sitting back here at full range, just like hitting, like just painting. Because we're allowing their backline weapons to like set up into positions. And if they're Stamper, if they're heavy, if they can set up into mid, and especially if they get to our side of mid, like they just outrange you at that point. And again, it goes back to like we just use missiles, so we don't have a great way to like sure we can try like going for a YOLO like Reef Slider or something, or you know, we can like we have resources and like crabs and stuff to potentially deal with it, but we need to be more proactive with like taking space. And also the paint that we are trying to get, we should be, you know, we don't want to focus just on like, obviously we want to have the objective, but we need to be, if we move forward past the objective and if we're painting over here, like it's less likely that they're able to throw stuff and like paint if we're in front of the zone itself. And so we can focus on taking space forward, and still like part of the consequence of that is that we're keeping the zone itself protected. So like in these spots, we can't be sitting back here. We're just allowing the enemy team to like get set up. And even though y'all had like a slight advantage after using missiles, like we're all cramped up here against two long range weapons with the Stamper and the heavy. Also, welcome in. I am not sure how to pronounce your name, but I'll say AFU. Welcome in. So I would like us to be a little bit more proactive with that, because we end up looking to start pushing out after they've already set up, and it makes our life really hard. Because now Blaster has to drop from a really awkward spot when they are like the enemy team already has control of the ledges. Yo, thank you for the follow, AFU. Thank you, thank you. Afu? I'm so sorry. I'm so bad with pronunciation. Let me back it up just 2 more seconds. I'll go through it real quick, but it's a really important kind of thing when it comes to like map control and paint and everything. All this stuff kind of circles back together. Where when we're clustered like this, like the enemy team doesn't have to worry about any of this paint over here. You know, they don't have to worry about anyone being over here, and they'll visually see if y'all drop. And the same thing's happening over on this side and stuff, where it's like they can be a lot more focused. Yo, what's up, G-Doc though? Hello, hello, hello. They can focus in one central area and find your entire team. And it's like, we have to be very careful about giving the enemy team this kind of situation. It's really one of the important things as you try to, like, part of being better is increasing your pace of play, being able to make assumptions during the match, and simplify the game, and like simplify the total number of elements at all times. You know, like for example, just looking at the comps, I mean, it sounds very obvious, but it's a good thing to always keep in mind, where it's like, you know, neither team is playing a charger. This team has a backline on a heavy. So that's like, you know, even if we're not pushed up too much, like we're still at risk of the heavy, which is very, like they're very commonly going to be sitting on their grade at the beginning of the match. And that's something that we have to be careful of. If there was a leader up here, like we get sniped. But if they did, like if they had a team of just like, if they had a team of like splashes and zaps, then like we don't have to worry about getting punished like here at the beginning. We still have to worry about these ledges, but you know, it changes the dynamic of like things you have to worry about. And against your comp, things like Dynamo, things especially like Blaster, dualies as well because they're pretty mobile, and this wiper isn't quite as scary because it doesn't have a sub, but you know, wiper and just both Splatanas can like one shot on ledges, which is like always a threat that people have to respect. And so those are the things they have to be careful about against your comp. The things they're scared about, obviously, if you have specials up, then they have to respect the specials. But just like main weapon, the general playstyle of the way your team is going to be playing, is they have to be careful about some of the chaos. You know, people going for these types of flanks, you know, or even just setting up on like these types of walls and stuff. It was a bad kink day. Let's go. I can get that in a second. But when they are, this team is very scared about y'all pushing ledges behind them, you know, in front of them. Like they're scared that you're going to catch them off guard and like be able to one shot them. They want to play the control game. They want to play with their range. We have to inject chaos into the grand scheme of the game. The headband in the videos. I need to always have the headband on. Is what you're saying. Yeah, I'll get that in a second. Yo, what's up, Jamie? Hello. Thank you for the hydrate, my friend. And so when I go back to talking about like simplifying the game, if your team is all cramped up on the zone and they know that you're all in front of them, that makes the way that they have to play like so much easier. Because if they don't have to worry about threats coming from the sides or someone pushing up directly in front, then that allows their backline to like sit on these ledges. They can play at their max range because they don't have to worry about any sort of threat of pushing the sides. So we kind of need to like keep them in check with all of that. And we have to play toward our own team's win condition. And when we get like a pick with wiper and stuff, and we're just kind of painting our zone nonchalantly and sitting this far back on the map, like we're enabling this type of behavior for them to play very aggressive. I don't know if we'll be able to see the decision making in real time from the heavy, but you know, they're getting missiled. They're very scared. They're scared. Like they drop off the ledge. Instead of just backing up, they drop off the ledge because they're expecting your comp to like start running at them. Let me get the pink headband real quick. I need to get some new headbands at some point. I need something fancy. I don't even know if they make fancy headbands. They mean a different style. Okay. This is not a Barbie pink. This is a slightly darker than Barbie pink, but you know. Where's my hair? My hair is all over the place. Where? Okay, we're good. Oh man, I need a haircut. My bad. Alright, so anyways. Alright, there was a question in chat. Let me kind of go through everything. I got connection back. I was trying to say I was the dynamo. Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Welcome in, Mystic. I have a question. How do you deal with hyper offensive teams where their aim is to rack up as many kills as possible, overwhelm your team by gaining a lot of map control in seconds? It kind of depends on the comp, but there are a couple of ways. Because like we have to think about a lot of the different resources and stuff. Like if they're not playing like a cooler, they're not playing you know, jet and stuff, like we can kind of take advantage of using that ourselves. I think in general though, like if they're super aggressive, ideally we can play like, when I hear aggressive, I'm assuming that it's probably like shorter range weapons, like probably like maybe a Tetra, maybe like, you know, T-Techs and 52s and faster weapons like that. But having something that has like a little bit more range to be able to stuff them is like important. So, you know, for something like a charger, it can be good, but like charger's slow and it needs time to get situated. And I think a lot of times, like something like a charger or like a leader or like some sort, or like a heavy, like one of those like slower moving or Hydra, like the slower moving backline weapons, once they're set up, they do a really good job against the aggressive weapons. But in a lot of cases, it's hard to find yourself in those spots, and it requires you, like, the room for error against those comps is very little. So like if you slip and you allow their backline to get to your, I mean, you allow their aggressive front lines to get to your charger and get a pick, then it like takes a bunch of time for y'all to set up, and you might not ever get a solid retake after. Because we saw that a lot with Sun when we play. They're like they play a lot of, they're flexible right now. They play backline in general, but a lot of times in like zones, for example, they'll play like a leader. They're a really good charger player, and so leaders, like we'd find ourselves like if we win the opening, sometimes we just KO. Just, you know, if we can get the advantage in the opening and our leader just moves forward into mid and just sits in mid, like it's GG basically. If we don't make a mistake, like we just win the game on the spot. If we do lose the initial play, it basically, like, we have to be smart, and usually we'll go down like 100 to like 30 or something at the beginning. And it doesn't really matter what that number is. Certain maps it does, like Flounder, for example. A lot of times there's a lot of just back and forth fighting for zone. But if you do get a wipe on the enemy team, then like you can 100 to 0 at like any point in zone specifically. It doesn't necessarily translate in other modes, but backlines can do good, but you have to like play it perfect. I think in general, like a lot of mid-range stuff is usually pretty good. Stamper, for example, is like, and Wiper as well, both very good against like a lot of shooter weapons. Against a lot of you know, like if you're just able to outrange them. Nautilus is another really good weapon, kind of in that kind of scenario. Squeezer is a very high mechanical weapon, but it also fits the bill of being that like mid-range threat to neutralize them. But that is pretty important. Playing against aggressive teams, a lot of it is awareness. Paint control is obviously really important. And depending on the aggressive comp, like if they have like a carbon, if they have, you know, a roller, you know, like an Octobrush or something that's like a little bit, or some sort of blaster that is trying to be more aggressive, having paint control and not letting them get into, and Tri-Slosh is another example, probably more closer to the meta, making sure that you cut off any opportunities for them to flank, or at least keep them in mind. Like, that's the other thing about the aggressive comps, is that a lot of times it's such an overwhelming onslaught that at a certain point your team just kind of cracks. Where like at a certain point it just takes the roller getting through, like any sort of roller getting through one time in the game for them to get a triple completely wipe and like totally flip the momentum of the match. And so it requires a lot of discipline to be able to play around it. Because it's tough. It really is hard. But yeah, like being able to consolidate paint once you have an advantage is like really important, and being patient and keeping an eye on where people are at when they are trying to push. Because when you retake against like the QR comps, the very aggressive comps, it's really important to get like clean like breaks. Like you can't like just keep trading with them, and then like, because they'll jump in faster. If they're taking fights on your side of the map and y'all are respawning in at the same time, like there's little room for you to be able to like take back control. So it requires a lot of discipline no matter what the comp is, but there's definitely a lot of different approaches to handling it. But I think, I could be wrong, but like aggressive comps have generally been, I mean, not like QR comps necessarily, because Splatoon 2 was like a lot of team specials, but you know, and like Splatoon 3, for example, like they're having that very aggressive front line and having a team that kind of commits to that play style is very scary. So I don't know if that totally answers your question. It definitely is. It depends on the map, the mode, the comp and stuff. But the biggest things are that you need to get a clean break. You can't have them continually trickling in, so you have to continuously take fights. Doing a good job of painting, making sure they can't camp ledges, camp walls, sharken spots that you're not prepared for. And having range to be able to take good, take highly successful fights. But it's definitely easier said than done. I will say that traditionally that's been something that we have, when I play competitively, that's something that I struggle with quite a bit. New area is beautiful. Wait, what area? Oh, in Sky. I see. Yeah, Bab is the Sky. He's like a crazy speeder on there. He knows all the glitches and stuff. It's crazy. Whenever I see him do like tricks to speed up whatever like daily quest or whatever that they're all doing, it's just like I don't know what's happening, but it looks the amount of skill is very impressive because I played Sky a tiny bit. Is a very cool game, is not a game that I can come back to every single day, but I had a lot of fun like kind of just going through it generally, if that makes sense. Did I hear Dynamo? Yo, what's up, Saf? Hello. Watching the stream on TV, I can see Reborn's headband in HD. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Got locked out by y'all's leader on Umami. Yeah, Umami is kind of a silly map. That Umami is very much a crab map, very much a backline map. It's very open, so again, once they have control, it's like is GG. And if you're playing against something like leader, it's really important not to like give them an opportunity to set up. And if you are going to push them, you need like specials, which kind of relating back to this match, this isn't quite the same range as like a leader, for example, but it's a similar premise where if we're going to be pushing a team that like, you know, as the blue team, if we're going to push the orange yellow team, we have to have an answer to deal with these people. We have to go in and make sure that whatever game plan we have to retake on this map incorporates like dealing with them, either getting a pick, dislodging them, you know, finding an opportunity to continue playing. And part of that you can use like crab in certain cases to outrange them or at least displace them. Missiles are obviously a really good resource to displace them. Reciter very rarely can, but usually it's not super consistent because usually these people are on higher ground, but sometimes it works on this maps. And then Dynamo, you can kind of catch people on ledges, but Dynamo is not really like, this is not any sort of answer. Like having Dynamo stop backline isn't the right answer. Once you're set up, you can keep backline from getting into positions with Dynamo, but yeah. So anyways, the heavy gets out of position. So the thing we wanted to look at here is the enemy team able to, and because this is a scrim and there's comms, I'm assuming, anyone on the orange team that sees that all four of you are in your zone, they can play differently. Yeah, it's like they see all four of you over here. And you can actually see them as they start walking up. They're kind of like scared of ledges, and then I think they probably get like a comm or something, or maybe they just realize it. But like they start getting this for paint and some information. And they're like, you know, they take a second because they're like, okay, is there someone that's going to push me this way? And they're like, they're nervous. They have to like keep an eye on this area. And then like something changes where it's like, oh wait, they're all in front of us. Oh wait, I can just sit here and paint. I don't have to worry about any flanks anymore. And like the whole dynamic of the team changes. This might be a little bit aggressive from their splash. But like their backline can kind of just sit back and find like opportunities. You know, now there's threats, they have to back up a little bit, but y'all are, you know, they're getting picks on your team and then they can kind of continue to move forward. And if you have those threats, you can help like I don't know, like we have to just make their backline uncomfortable. It's easiest and simplest to do it with specials, but it like our positioning matters as well. Or she still had a charger set up on Umami. That's a good idea if you can stop it. They are able to get back in. And again, like, we're committing to a special, but as a wiper, we're not helping that game plan. So now we wasted resources. We did get an initial pick, but we didn't get the enemy team out of where they want to be on the map. And so we didn't get as much value out of Crab as we would have liked to. We're close to missiles. I'm assuming the team is going to be playing for missiles here in a second. Oh, this is a risky fight for as much as we just committed for getting missiles. But we'll probably use them now. Beacon out. We probably should have got beacon out if we were going to do that. But either way, it's fine. So yeah, we kind of need to like push up with these missiles. And we're pushing up in the middle of the map, which again simplifies. But you do get a crab right behind after the missiles, which is a really nice combo. Yeah, we need to get them out of there. We'll let this play out, and again, we'll kind of go back. It's more of a recap than like uncharted waters of what we've talked about before, but... Oh, we did get that. Oh no, that was the other beacon. Okay. Yeah, and you can see here that, like, unfortunately we died of the splash, but even if it wasn't the splash that killed us, like, we get outranged. Voice crack? We get outranged by the, we get outranged by the heavy here. And this is, like, contextual to the team that we're playing against. If we were fighting against a bunch of shooters, then, like, I'm fine with, like, yeah, sit back here and just, like, don't let them jump up. You're chilling. You win that fight. But when we start playing against things like Stamper, we start playing things like heavy, this game plan does not work against these weapons, and we have to be like we have to be comfortable adjusting. And that's part of the reason at the very top of all this that I said I'd rather us be playing something like the more aggressive wiper versus playing the wiper deco. Missiles do help with dislodging these kind of things that outrange us, but it's really important for us to be able to commit to moving forward. And yes, some of these weapons also can do a decent job of moving forward as well. But as a team, we have to like commit to the idea. And when we use something like Crab, we use something like missiles, it's not enough for us to just find a pick and just be like, okay, we got a pick, like we can probably do something now. Like we have to have a full effort as a team to figure out what it is we're trying to do. All right, so I'm going to go back a little bit to when we initially used this Crab. I'm going to look at it from an overhead perspective and kind of just talk through things. I don't know why the replay does this, because there's like someone sitting over here, but they're not showing up in the overhead. But yeah, one of them spawning in, we just got to pick on this person with the Crab. But it's a little bit hard to see with the overhead. But like this heavy's all the way back. So we, like as a team, like we don't need to paint back here because we can be painting for specials. Like we can paint over here. We can paint over here. Here we can do the same thing and just kind of paint in front of us. There's a lot of ways that we can go about it, but we need like if we were getting our special. Like our missile special paint, if we were getting that paint over here, then that enables the rest of our team to like be able to move forward. Like it sounds obvious, but it's an important thing to keep in mind where, you know, these people can't play as fast because they don't have someone painting for them. So they have to paint for themselves and they have to move forward. And it's hard to do both when you're getting outranged by these two weapons. It's like we didn't get any paint. We still haven't like I like us looking to threaten this left side, but like as a team we need to be committing to these types of plays. I want to see us like getting on like walls and looking to like jump on them as a team, because if we're not going to push now after we get a pick on the like after we get a pick we have numbers and we still have Crab up, like if we're not going to push then Like, if not now, when? What is the better opportunity that we're looking for in order to find the pick to win this game? Because when y'all end up using your specials and stuff, like, that's a great it's a great opportunity for y'all to move forward. Same thing with Crab, but we have to commit. Because if we don't commit using our resources like that, then like we're not trying to win the game, if that makes sense. And I think as a team, we just haven't really established like what our win condition is based off of the comps that we're playing. And I think like I said before, this is a very different comp. Some similar pieces, but a very different comp than what we saw before. So maybe y'all are just playing different weapons. But if you are going to be playing like a new comp and everything, like we need to be establishing, you know, Crab is an engaged special, Missile's engaged special. When, you know, as a team, if we need to retake or if we want to start pushing the enemy team because they have like a heavy setup in like, you know, somewhere that is not allowing us to push. If we want to take this space, which if we want to get points, like currently we're losing in this game. We need to hold the zone. How do we hold the zone enough to like chew past the, you know, chew through the penalty and like start getting points after the penalty? We need to be in front of the zone. How do we get in front of the zone? We take the space that this heavy and this stamper are covering. How do we get them out of those positions? We have to use our specials. You know, or if you do a good job of getting a bunch of paints, like when y'all get those advantages, instead of backing up and painting for specials or, you know, just kind of being comfortable sitting in mid, if we had more direct paint, like we do have some paint over here from the Dynamo, but like if we had more paint to be able to actually threaten these types of pushes and like flanks around, or like even this wall, like if we were threatening these, then that's another way that we can catch them off guard. You know, those missiles or that crab like gave us enough space to like take these walls, which traditionally against like a longer range opponent, like we use the beginning as an example. It's like, I don't know exactly what our Wiper was trying to do at the beginning, but if they wanted to like push one of these walls aggressively, it's like they were stopped because they have, their heavy was sitting up here and they can visually see. And their stamper also did a good job. You know, they were watching you over here. And then once you, you know, were just kind of committed to painting and weren't being very careful of threats, they just dropped on you and just like took the fight. And between their damage and the chip from the heavy, like they were able to get a splat on you. So we have to be very conscious. Also, I'm just going to say Bay, but please correct me. Is it VY? But thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate you. Thank you. But please correct me and tell me how you would like to have your name pronounced, and I will do my best to accommodate. Because I am not able to figure these things out on, you know, I'm so bad with names. And yeah, so far, I just feel like as a team, we're using specials and we're not trying to take the most advantage out of them. We're hoping that using the specials themselves is enough to like get the job done. Oh, Vibey. Oh, that's like, no, that's awesome. No, I like that. I mean, I like the name Vibey and I like the way that makes so much more sense. Yeah, see, my brain is not going to come to that conclusion, but thank you so much for your patience. And yeah, welcome in, Vibey. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a nice weekend. I'm not a very creative person, as you can see with my overlays and the way that just everything. My entire existence. I'm not the most. I'm creative in certain ways, but I'm not like artsy. So yeah, I'm not making that type of conclusion, but I love it. So we push this person out, we get missiles. I do like that our blaster is going for this like more aggressive play. Okay. And see, like, this is like, maybe this could have been a little bit tighter, but this push with the missiles is a lot better. And I think it's because, you know, when we use Crab, our missile wiper like just ran to the other side of the map, which doesn't allow us to push. When the person that is playing more defensive with our wiper, If they're sitting back, then it allows everyone else to move forward. I think that's generally why we get more value out of the missiles, but like, I love the setup for this. We need to be cleaner if we want to continue to improve, but like the idea here is so much better than a lot of the previous retakes. So like, you know, we generally have mid control, and I like that we're looking for, like, I really like our blaster looking for the more aggressive, like moving the walls and stuff. They find an opportunity to move forward, you know, like, oh, you know, this stamper drops, that gives me a small window to be able to push into their backline. This is exactly, this play that your blaster's doing is exactly like, as a team, this is like your win condition kind of thing. We find a window to move forward and we push it. But the rest of our team has to commit to this. And like, you know, in your comms and stuff, like your blaster should be saying that they're going to be distracting and trying to push onto this backline. And that should give enough confidence for your dualies, for example, to be able to move forward. And for you, I mean, you may have to focus on the stamper a little bit, but like the rest of the team should have some more confidence to kind of like move forward, because there's a limited time window for this blaster to be in this position. And if we don't go now, this person's going to get splatted and that window closes effectively. So like, you know, when all of this is happening, this dualies needs to be a lot more proactive when trying to push. I know they're scared of the crab, but like the crab isn't even looking at us. You know, at the very least, like take this side wall and like get behind this cover here. If you're behind this cover, you're not at threat and you're still like in the mix. You're in the fight. And you can potentially look to like roll behind this crab. You can at least throw a bomb. Like it gives you more options than just like passively sitting here and effectively doing nothing. Because realistically, the enemy team isn't going to be pushing this far forward because they're dealing with the blaster right now. So like, I like the ideas, but that's how you like kind of piece this stuff together. Blaster is trying to move forward. And again, this blaster probably, realistically, this blaster probably could have like, this is very unorthodox. You could probably just go through this little like great thing here, but they should be getting behind this this crab and probably getting that pick. But I love the idea here. I think the execution was a little bit flawed, and then the rest of our team is just a little bit too slow. And I don't know why we're necessarily rolling back when these people have missiles on them, and like this person is, you know, if you sneeze on them, they'll go down. But we need to be able to commit. Part of us playing something like dualies is that a lot of our advantage comes from our increased mobility and movement. So, you know, I'm not sure if it's a lack of confidence with our mechanics or, you know, if we're not seeing that this is a good opportunity for us to move forward, but this is like a perfect option for us to be able to, you know, roll after, clear this person up, or we can roll forward and try to clean this person up. If we go for this person might actually hit us, so we have to be careful. I'd prioritize this person and then we can focus this. But, you know, even if this person wasn't like here, if they were like back here or something instead, like we can still roll and like chase after this person, but we have to commit. We just use missiles and we cleared out the crab. But even if we didn't clear the crab, like our blaster is like committing in the situation. We have to support them. We can't play to the win condition of our team comp unless we go for those situations. And then here as a team, we need to just, we need to get these picks. Like the crab doesn't really have good angles. If they're sitting back here, it's hard to see because it's kind of translucent. Let me move a little bit. Okay. So if they're sitting behind here, like the crab, they can do like very minor amount of chip by hitting the side on this person, but the crab is never getting this type of pick. So someone else on the team has to like be able to deal with this. And again, if we go back to like the comp stuff, like this is why having a bomb versus a beacon is like really important, because if we had a torpedo, we can like dislodge this person and it gives us more confidence as the wiper to like push and clean this up, because we're in a really good spot here, but we're only in a good spot if we actually like clear them out of this stage area. I think we kind of forget about them a little bit, and then it's like, oh wait, we never got the pick. But yeah, we do need to be a little bit faster in terms of like trying to clean this up. And like we don't have like great bombs. The only bomb that we have is the crab, you know? Like the crab, the dualies has a suction bomb, but if they're in crab, like we don't have a bomb. Which is another shortcoming when it comes to looking at this comp. We're like, you know, if we're using crab as a retake tool, then we don't have any bombs as a team. And it makes this play very awkward. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, Vibey. So, right now, I have the replays closed just because we still have a few that we need to get through, and the new patch is coming out. So once the new patch is out, any of the older replays basically get wiped and you can't use them anymore. So it's really important to, what am I trying to say? So yeah, last time it's important for me now to not have any codes get submitted that I can't actually review, because I felt really bad that people submitted codes and, like, you know, put effort into some of their details with their review, and I wasn't able to get to it. So, so yeah, I don't know when the patch is coming out. I may open it up temporarily, probably not, because I'll probably just use that time for some other stuff. But basically, I will open up the replay channel in Discord, which is where you go to submit the reviews. I will open it up once the new patch is out. So there might be a bit of a mad dash to get in a review code early on. And obviously, like, we should be able to get through all of them over time. I'm not that booked, but yeah, basically I've stopped the queue because we're still taking some reviews. But once we're done with the reviews, the new patch should be in. So yeah, anyone that is maybe new or is trying to submit a review currently, you're not able to do so right now, but it is something that you'll be able to do within probably the next week, whenever that new patch is out. Yeah, exactly, Fizzy. Thank you. Anything I must do beforehand? So all you need is like a code, like just a replay code. Any insight into any questions you have, if they're, you know, whether it be just I generally struggle at doing X, Y, or Z, or like in this specific match at 2:30 when our team was trying to push, like I don't know if I was supposed to move forward or if I should have thrown a bomb or paint. Like, try to get as many details as you can give, or as many questions as you have about basically, like, why did you select that replay kind of thing. I want to try to tailor my reviews to be as helpful to the person that's submitting the review as possible. So like, none of that is necessarily required right now. There's like a spot up in the little template for, like, you know, is there any details, or like, what do you try? I forgot the exact phrasing, but it's like basically like, what are you trying to get out of the review? And that area is nice to just put those details of, like, you know, what about this review versus any of the others? Like, why specifically this one? And that helps to provide a more complete answer for you, and hopefully answer the questions that you may have. Forgetting Stampers so dangerous, or wipers in general. Yeah, they're very scary, but you have to put yourself in scary positions in order for them to be scary. And like, so far in this game, we haven't like threatened that at all. New to this, never tried. It was, yeah, no, you're totally fine. I appreciate the questions. It's hard to communicate, especially in like for Splatoon, because it's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess a lot of modern games that have replay systems structure it similarly, but back in my day, the full review was downloaded to your hard drive, so it never expired. It wasn't efficient memory wise, but you could always go back to those replays. Back when I played other competitive games. But yeah, that's just one thing that we have to consider when submitting everything. So yeah, we'll keep it moving. I think we've kind of generally covered like the big parts of all of this. Probably, I would imagine win or lose is probably a lot more of that, where we need to look for that type of value. You know? And it's just same thing here. We're too comfortable putting ourselves in bad positions. And context matters. This is why you need to play solo queue. This is why you need to get a bunch of reps on whatever weapon it is you are trying to play. Because you need to be comfortable with like this type of decision making. Where like, you know, this style of wiper is fine against the next team that you play against potentially. But in this game, in this scrim, right this second is not the right idea. Back in my, I mean, hey, I'm a boomer at heart, and I'm also just a boomer. Again, I really like that your blaster is approaching on the sides because your team really needs it, but I think your team as a whole should be committing to that a little bit more. Oh, that's tough. That's unfortunate. Y'all probably get past your penalty and threaten lead at the end here if that stamper doesn't pop off right there. Like even in this situation, like taking that much time to just try to explode the super chumps is like giving them a lot of value. Like a lot of the reason why super chump isn't as valuable is because you can generally just ignore them. Like, do we care that that chump explodes and puts a little bit of extra paint in the bottom mid of the map where we should be pushing past currently? It's like, yes, it matters, but it's not the highest priority. I imagine from your perspective, you're probably doing it because it's like safest for you, you know? But if everyone reacted to Chump the way we just did, Chump would be like S+ tier. Chump would be a crazy special if everyone like stopped what they wanted to do to like try to just explode, like, or to pop like one or two of the Chump explosions. We're close to special, and like every time that we get close to special, we're ignoring the fact that we're playing a team-based game. Once we're like this far and forward to getting to our special, we're checked out of this game. All this fighting that's happening, this cooler that's right here, like we're ignoring all of this. The only thing that we're focused on currently is this up here. We're just trying to fill this in and we don't care about anything else. And we need to shift our focus. We're tunneling on feeling good because we get missiles out. This is an awesome opportunity for us to move forward. If we pick up cooler, for example, I think I was playing with Bab and he was talking about this. But basically, I was playing some Zap with him and he was saying that like as the Wiper Deco, because Bab is a Wiper Deco player, he said, as Wiper Deco, having a cooler makes my life like so much easier because I can just like I can play, if I get cooler, I can play aggressive and not have to worry about managing like my missiles. Like I go for this play, if we are successful, then like I have missiles for the hold. This is sick. If I go down, I jump to my teammate and I still have missiles. And that's another facet of missiles, or you know, if it doesn't have to just be missiles, but basically any weapon that has an important retake special attached to it. Like that's one of the things, one of the valuable things that cooler allows us to do. But we pick up the buff, but we're not playing like we picked it up, you know? Like we're still moving way behind our entire team to like try to get our missiles out. Even though if we go down, like it's fine. We respawn immediately, we can jump to our team immediately, and we still have missiles out. Which even if we didn't have cooler, I still think we're playing this way too far back. But your team is suffering every time that we back up like that. It negates or even is a worse situation for our team to be able to like. And yeah, in this spot we're playing a little too comfortable. I think this game, the biggest theme I would say is that we're probably just too comfortable just staying alive. And this is where we have to put context to statements like, you know, it's more important to stay alive than to get a splat. Where it's like, yes, that is true. And that's something that I say. I'm not trying to like undermine that statement because it is true. Like it's really important to stay alive. But this is like the most extreme, not most extreme, but it is a more extreme version where we're not taking any risk and we're not, you know, moving forward to use any of the advantages that we get with our missiles, with our crab, with cooler buffs. We're ignoring all of that and undermining what we're trying to do as a team in order for me to get missiles out. Even to the point where we're not even, like at the very end there in overtime, like we didn't even make an attempt to like try to win the game. Like there's no reason for you to like try to stay alive if you're needed to move forward in order to retake the zone to like have a chance at winning, you know? It's like those situations, like it doesn't mean you have to hold forward and immediately feed, but contextually, like it was you and someone else on your team at the end. So like they really, you have to move forward and either find a pick or like help with that peening. We're playing a little bit too chill. So let us, how do I even phrase this? I think probably the two biggest pieces. The first one is like we need to take risk. Like when it makes sense. The perfect game isn't gonna like just happen. And this is one of the things that I struggle with and is why I've been playing things like 52 in solo queue. Is because I need to get better. Like I need to get better at these types of things as well. Where like I'm very focused on a lot of the strategy side, but like all the strategy in the world, all of the, you know, whatever, which there's parts of strategy that I'm gonna talk about here, but even if you have the best strategy or you know, whatever the case is, like if you're not looking to move forward when you make good decisions, if you're not, you know, a good decision isn't a good decision until you've like cashed it in, you know? Like until you've actually seen it all the way through, it's not like a great idea or a great play. That's like the perfect example was like when they had, I think they had two people up here. It was like Stamper and someone else. I want to say it was Heavy. They might have jumped out or something. But like you get a crab out here, your team has full control of mid, and like I think there's like two of your teammates that are able to push. And like we have a crab suppressing the people and they're literally stuck. They're stuck in this box. And like, yes, this is a great decision. This crab is awesome. A perfect follow-up after the missiles. We love to see it. But if we don't decide to clean this up in the most efficient way possible, when they're suppressed by a crab, we can probably be a little bit more just like aggressive with this. Can still work with teammates, but we can try to push it a little bit faster. Or even, you know, if you do go for this play, but let's say that, you know, this person, like the Stamper makes an incredible play and we get splatted, it's like that great idea, like no longer matters, you know, because we weren't able to like capitalize on the good decision making. Some of that is additional decision making, which is kind of the thing here. It was hard to really judge your mechanics because we didn't like put ourselves into like difficult situations. Not even difficult, but we didn't put ourselves into like we basically avoided confrontation at every step of the way. It's kind of like what I saw. And like you don't want to fight just to fight, but we do want to fight when we have an advantage. But it's only an advantage until it's not. You know, same thing when your blaster was pushing up over here and like jumping onto their backline. Like this blaster getting into this position is a huge advantage for your team. But if Dualies is just sitting here and they don't start looking to go over this ledge and start moving. And again, they could have rotated onto this wall, so it was a little bit safer. But if they wait until Blaster's already like fought over on this left side and then Blaster goes down and then they start moving forward, like that window is like gone. So the heads up play from the Blaster and the nice positioning to complement that idea from the dualies, like that no longer matters because we don't commit to it. And that's what we need to be thinking about in like the overall bigger part of this game. So like, so if we have like a player advantage, like a number advantage, we should be pushing forward. If we have special advantage, we should be, you know, it doesn't mean we just hold forward, but there has to be an idea. And, you know, do we have the perfect idea? It's like, no, like 99.9% of teams don't have perfect ideas of how to push with missiles and push with crab in every position, every situation. And that's not something that like you should expect. You don't want to look to be perfect. You just want to look to, you know, throw your hat in the ring, I think is I'm such a boomer. You have to at least like commit yourself to something. You have to try to play the game, because if we don't, we miss out on those ideas. And I think that was kind of the theme of this game, where your team had decent ideas, but we didn't look to take them. And also taking risk can mean different things. Like take risk is also a very nebulous term, but when I talk about the risk themselves, I mean things like, I'll just say like flanks, which in the second half of the game, I commend your Blaster quite a bit. I think your Blaster did a fantastic job of, you know, playing this right side, finding a pick with missiles, looking to push left side with missiles. Like the Blaster did a really good job, but it's something that we have to commit to as a full team. We can't expect the Blast, even if the Blaster makes a good play, we can't expect them to like wipe the whole team, you know? Like we still have to like support them. They are human, and we want to make sure that we're able to help them. So sometimes that's flanks, sometimes that's like painting / like positioning. Because like our positioning, we were still sitting back here, and in certain cases we were like, especially as the Wiper Deco, like we were playing back here, like literally back here when our team had like full control of mid and we were using specials. And even though you are like the missile person on your team, you're also the space maker, and you're also the painter when your crab is out, for example. You know, that's where you have to play like a lot of different roles, and you have to be comfortable adjusting from one to the other. And I felt like we were only comfortable being, you know, not going to stay alive. I just want to position myself so that I don't get splatted by the enemy team. And, you know, I'll have missiles ready when we need them. And all of those things are great. Like in a vacuum, everything I just said, perfect. And I think you check those boxes outside of a couple of fights with our positioning, which is probably the next point. But outside of that, like we check those staying alive, getting missiles out, perfect. But the way that we painted for missiles, we're like painting back here. And there's a time and place to paint on your side of the map, like backing up. Like sometimes there's a splash. If I need to get crab and I need to paint for special, and like even if we have full control of mid, sometimes I will back up and I'll get paint in like this area, or I'll get paint back here, because it's like the most efficient way for me to get back over here and help. But there's a lot of, like it's a complicated decision to make, because there's a lot of things you have to consider when it comes to like timing windows, when it comes to you know, how much special you need. Is there other places that we could be painting instead? There's a lot of those things that we could be figuring out, or like we need to make sure that we're comfortable with in order to like try to do that. So in certain spots, painting behind you, like I'm not trying to say painting behind you is like always bad, but in these spots, like painting this area over here, it was bad, because we can get the same paint or more and actually like remove the enemy paint in important parts of the map by painting around the mid instead. Like we want We need to get like these side areas painted. We need to get this back area painted. We need to get this, top of the ramp painted. We can't really push too much past this in zones, but like we want to have as much control as possible. We want to paint like this over here. On this map, it's important on all maps, like painting walls, for example, like getting paint all around these side walls, all over the map. Like all this stuff is like super, super, super important, especially on this map mode. And a lot of that requires us to be like in the moment, very proactive, very focused on like the game in front of us. The second thing I would say, let me just let those move fast. So the other thing I would say, this is more of a personal note. There's two parts. But the more important one is like what I was talking about before with like play with team. It's probably easier just to say like adapt the role. We need to be able to play whatever role our team needs at any moment. And when our team's ready to push and we have a crab out, we're no longer painter. We're now, let's push up with our team. And I felt like for the most part, like we just weren't trying to adapt our role. We were using that crab as like an extra layer of safety to get missiles. And we can't play like, especially like as you keep continuing to improve at like super high levels, like you're constantly playing on like a knife's edge. Like any little mistake that you make can make the difference at like super top levels. The level that I'm at, the level, like lower levels, mid-level, that's not the case. As you continue to improve, that the margin of error is like lower and lower. But, you might be able to get away with this playstyle sometimes, but we want to look to play a playstyle that's going to scale with us. As we continue to improve, we want our playstyle, our strategy to complement, our increase in skill and us, taking it more seriously, getting more comfortable with weapons and everything. So we need to know like how to adapt our role. And I think the biggest thing for you specifically is like push with specials. It's a weird way to look at the word specials. But we need to push with our specials. And in certain cases, that may have been the cooler, that may have been a crab that's shooting in areas. But we need to be more active in like what's going on and help our team. We can't just be the painter. The other thing that I would say is that we need to adapt our role. We need to adapt our game plan as a team. And the other thing that I just want to mention, because it's a little bit different than some of these, is that we need to adapt, like, some of this is positioning, but we need to be able to adapt to the different ranges that the game throws at us. And for a lot of, any time that we weren't able to like push into mid, we were too comfortable putting our back to this wall, which against shooters, against a zap, against a splash that's like climbing over this ledge and pushing at us, this is a very comfortable spot to be able to sit in. Which, like, if the white, as you play against better players, they're not going to push you if they see you back there, is point A. But point B, like the thing that this team did a really good job of, is that they moved they're like, oh, their team is playing back here and they're all crowded around this area. Like as the heavy, I can kind of just like move forward, and like the heavy was like, able to like sit in the zone and like splat you, and the heavy outranges you. You outrange the zap, you outrange the splash. You don't outrange the heavy though. And this is like, this position is like contextually good, but it's also contextually like really bad, because like your back's to the wall. You have nowhere else. Like you have to move forward in order to escape, or you have to like jump out. And so like for that reason, it's like this spot is not great, but it's a good flex spot. If you need to back up, you need extra space, then like sitting back here is like great. If you outrange the thing that you're looking to play against. But if you get back here, or if you get back here, you have to like think, like on this map, you have to like make a decision. If I'm sitting back here, what's the likelihood that I'm able to survive in this situation? And when they have a heavy and your team isn't ready to push with you, you don't have a special. If the heavy and stamper, like either of those, if they start moving up, like you just lose at that point. Unless they make a mistake, like you cannot win that game. Especially if you're not running a, you know, if you're running beacon, especially if you don't have a sub to fight with, then that's especially true. That's definitely the biggest thing. I would just say, look to be more aggressive when your team is looking to be aggressive. Because when you're... How do I phrase this? Like, the type of comp that your team is playing... Like, it's kind of like a... I don't know. It's hard to define weapon comps in Splatoon, but it's a more, to compare it to like some other games, like you have a more like mid-rangey type comp. The nice thing about mid-rangey stuff is that it's very flexible, but that was almost a detriment in this game for you all because we didn't know how to flex. And you know, with a comp like this, if you play against, like we were talking about like super aggressive comps before, if y'all play against a super aggressive comp, this is something where, you know, y'all might be able to get away with the type of playstyle that you played, where you need to like stay alive and hold your space. You probably can get away with the way that we just played against like a faster comp, but when we're playing against something that is like slower, has more range than we do, like we have to be able to adapt. And yes, in certain spots, we can play it slow in order to outrange the two weapons that we outrange. But once we find ourselves in a situation where we're going to get outranged by the heavy or stamper, like we have to adjust, whether it be jump out or whether it be take a different path when you're trying to push or, you know, whatever it is you're trying to do. And little things like, okay, I need to paint another 30% for my special, like, reevaluating like where you're gonna go to like get that paint and where you're gonna go to get that special. But overall, you know, there was a lot of bright spots with decisions and ideas that y'all made, but it wasn't consistent enough and it wasn't fully acted upon by the entire team. And that coordination is what we need to continue to improve on in order to have more consistent results. Because like I said, the way that you play, and that's why it's important to not be too results oriented. Because you could play against teams where their comp just like can't handle this type of playstyle. And it's like, oh, like, you know, this comp is like broken and I'm playing so well. Which, like, in that context, like, maybe. But over time, that isn't going to happen when you start playing against other teams and other comps and everything. And that's what we need to be, like, most focused on. But thank you so much for the review. Best of luck with your team. Compared to the last game, which I think was Clams... I think the last game we reviewed from you all was Clams on Museum, and like part of it we still had the same issue where I think last time the issue was that we were using our specials too fast and we weren't giving our teammates time to move forward. This time we were actually, like, we did a really good job of using specials at the right time. It's just that people that weren't using specials didn't commit and didn't move forward and caused us to run into some issues. So this next match is Nia. Welcome in, Ty. Hello, hello. How are you, my friend? This is a Div 5 Skyrim. Let me... Nia was talking earlier about playing Slosher, playing VDS. They also mentioned V-Shot. I don't know if I've seen them play V-Shot before, so I'm excited. Say around div 5, because div 5 is very nebulous, especially currently. But yeah, it's lower to mid-level for sure. Somewhere, you know, whether it's closer to mid-level or closer to lower level depends on the person that you ask. But I know Nia is a very solid player, so we'll see how it goes. Doing good. I'm not doing too bad. Like I said, I need to not literally inject caffeine in me, but I need to consume more caffeine at a faster rate than I have been. I need to still wake up. I'm doing well. Oh, yeah, I was just about to ping you. My bad. I got a little ahead of myself. But yeah, thank you for for being here. And yes, go through the description. So goal, which I'll just read here and then I'll go back to the comment. Our pushes seem to fall flat. I want to learn what caused this in terms of our team play special coordination, if there's anything I should be doing differently on shot. Any additional information? This was my first serious scrim on V-Shot, familiar with the general role and mechanics of aggro shooters and somewhat familiar with Zuka. I see. Gotcha. Focus on individual positioning. Okay. Yeah, a lot of those will kind of go hand in hand, so we'll probably touch on both at different points, but yeah, no, I gotcha. And again, thank you. That's like the perfect type of description. You know, the level of detail, whatever makes the most sense for the person submitting is fine. But I love Nia taking some time and kind of talking about, like, again, it's not like needed, but it helps me, and hopefully that ends up helping you all to be able to have like a little bit of a focus of like, you know, part of it is like self-inflection or self-reflection, where it's like, oh, you know, what went wrong here? Not like, oh man, just like look at this game for me. It's like, oh, like you take a second, it's like, oh, what went wrong? What felt uncomfortable? What didn't really work? You know, where was the breakdown in that match? Or I mean, potentially what went well, you know, like sometimes things can go really well and it's like, I'm fine to get a review where your team does really well and it's like, you know, did we play this hold as best as we could and everything? Obviously, there's usually more stuff to see in a loss, but like wins and losses are both good. But anyways, long story short, I appreciate you taking some time and providing that for me. Oh yeah, Rainmaker on this map, very funny. I should go back to the overhead. So Rainmaker on this map is usually first checkpoint isn't too hard to get. Usually it's just one team kind of getting wiped or something. The difficulty is getting past this area. Like getting past this line, so assuming we're pushing this way, getting past this line is like very, very difficult. Because this whole area is just bombs and shooting and paint and specials, and it's just a lot of spam in this area. Which is why some people don't like playing this this map. And that's where again we need specials to break, we need it goes back to Rainmaker as being like a speed game type, where like there's very small windows to be able to move the Rainmaker forward. If we wipe them, of course we have more time. But sometimes if you're crafty with moving the Rainmaker and you're very intelligent with all of that, you can get a lot of value there. For short range experience on Humpback, yeah, short range is not fun on this. I don't like it, especially the fight around mid. There's just too much elevation change. It feels very awkward. So that's the one piece with this map mode in general to be concerned with. There is an ability to like push, like you can use the podium on either side and you can like push around and go for like a flank. Actually, it's this way. Like we can flank around potentially, but usually this is kind of the general path. Sometimes people will often elect to have someone flank around this top area, but usually Rainmaker will kind of go this way. So yeah, let me look at comps real quick. So we are this V-Shot. So hard to kill anyone in mid. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Pack Rainmaker. Yeah, it's a mode. I don't actually hate it, but the stally nature of like sitting back here and then stuff just happening in the zone. It can get a little bit old, but I still have fun with it. Oh yeah, comps. So we have a pretty good range, like good mix of different things on this map mode. We have 3 bombs, which are nice. We have a decent amount of paint from, or a good amount of paint from Junior, a decent amount of paint out of our shots, and nice slaying power and nice flexibility with range and big play opportunity in our Nautilus. Sloshers are also very good on this map. Anything that can go over ledges, like this is also like a Dynamo map, and this map works a little bit better for Dynamo than something like Flounder, in my opinion, because there's a lot more like cover to be around. And the like Dynamo can't go over like the big wall in Flounder, but it can hit over all of these walls, you know, even if you're like camping over here. Like sometimes it can be common to have like a Dynamo like down here, just like hitting this area to like punish the enemy team and kind of trap them in. So yeah, again, all sloshers, like V-Slosher, I think gets picked quite a bit here. Slosher Machine, very solid here. Tri-Slosh is pretty solid here. All of them are pretty good. So yeah, VDS isn't a bad option either, especially if you have a bomb that you can kind of manipulate their movement with. So when we look at the enemy team, they have a very, not very standard, but a relatively common cooler comp. Jet plus cooler is a match that people really like currently. I've kind of talked about it a bit, but you know, your team can play pretty aggressive with inkjets and find trades and still, like, because of the cooler, like inkjet does a lot of chip on its own and can get a lot of picks on its own, but as a team you can fully commit to the inkjet plays with cooler because you respawn faster than the enemy team, and because you're able to just jump back in. Basically, a lot of times you jump back to like the recall location of the ballpoint if they're still in their inkjet, like if you die early on in their inkjet push. Same thing with Stamper. They have another recall, so some of that jump in with the push helps. And I think, I don't know if Stamper is on this specific map mode, but it's an interesting choice. Stamper as a weapon though is very, or Zipcaster as an option, but I think Stamper in general is pretty solid. There's a lot of like open areas for them to be able to find opportunities to do stuff. So we'll see how it goes. The big thing here, like I said, is this play over here, seeing how both teams do it. And this kind of goes back to what Neo was saying when it comes to, you know, how do we push? How do I position in these types of pushes? You know, how do we find that advantage? What to break the strong defensive hold in this area to be able to kind of start moving forward. So that's what we'll look to do. Specifically for Nia, I don't know how good, like Trizuka is very flexible. I don't know how good it is against like a Zipcaster. Like sometimes it's okay against Zipcaster, sometimes it's okay against the inkjet. Sometimes you can shred. I don't know if we're running, oh shoot, oops. I don't know if we're running object shred. Yeah, we're not running object shred, which I don't think we need to, but I don't know. Like, we can kind of shred Booyah a little bit. We can potentially hit, honestly, both these weapons off of some higher perches that they'll probably use their range to zone people out with. So we have to be very creative with how we use Zuka, but it has a lot of raw power, but it's not very easy to use. And then when we look at the comps, it's triple bomb versus like triple bomb. I'd probably give this team the slight nod, not because we already saw the opening happen and we got it spoiled, but in general, I think that their team just has a nicer ability to kind of take it. Also, it looks like we as a team aren't really committing to it. So yeah. And using those little like using the bunker is a really nice position to find picks. especially when this person's not looking at you. Like this play is really good. And I also like the fact that we move out of it so that we're not getting like beamed by anyone. Like sometimes people get a little bit too comfortable on these windows, on these bunkers, and a lot of weapons can like one shot you. Like basically their entire team. Zap has to be really close, but the rest of their team can hard punish you for being here for too long. So already a mistake. I don't think it's bad as long as the junior, yeah, as long as the junior's playing the left side, I don't mind this too much. But I think this opening's pretty safe. Like we gave up a lot of mid by playing the outskirts. I think as a team, we've kind of just probably made the decision that we just want to give up pop at the beginning. I do think that we maybe can contest a little bit more, but if we are going to be playing more reserved, at least we are able to target a we're able to target someone to get that pick on. To spread out. I think that's reasonable. Again, it just, to me at least, it depends on like the mentality. Where like as long as we're keeping an eye on those things, like if we're sitting here, they shouldn't be able to just push through us. But you are right. There is an inherent risk of our formation where it leaves these little gaps for the enemy team to be able to squeeze through, especially when they get the opening pop and basically all of mid paint for free. But you know, we don't. I think we're aware with our comp currently, but yeah. This flank is a little bit scary. The other thing with this play is that they can totally just ignore you and like move forward. Because they move 3 people to push at you, but it like if you start moving back this way, I've had it happen to me in solo queue, where it's like, you know, this flank is nice, but they catch you on it. So you're like, okay, I'm just gonna push over here. But when you're over here, like they can commit to this first checkpoint if they're like as a team, if they commit to it. And then you're just like too slow at that point. This goes back to like Rainmaker being like a speed game. Like you pushing here is too slow if they just decide to book it. And that's where those fast lane weaknesses that Putz is talking about can definitely kind of come into play. Where they ignore you and then your teammates are potentially going to get ran up on and get spotted. But overall, I don't think our opening's like bad. I think it's fine. There are some inherent risk, but I think with the way that we positioned, like we gave up a lot of, like we opted to give up a lot of space, but there wasn't a lot of room for us to like get splatted, if that makes sense. Which, like, do we want to give up that space? Probably not necessarily, but you know, we did have like some specials that we could have used if we didn't start fighting. And this is the other tough thing about if they have a little bit of an opening with all that paint in mid, they're able to get first check. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about first check. This is a bit of a liability. Yeah, we have to be careful about dropping right when Rainmaker's solo. Fortunately, we don't get punished too bad here, but we have to be really careful about dropping here. This drop is scary. Very, very, very scary. Also, if we're not running object shred, like, is it worth going for this play? I don't play a lot of Trizuka, so I don't actually know the answer. But like, even if they were in your range, is this even worth going for? But the bigger thing is that, like, I don't mind us using special. I just don't think going for the pick in mid is like all that valuable. I'd rather us look to get, because like part of this map is like we know that the enemy team, when they start pushing, they're all gonna like funnel through this area. So we have a higher likelihood of finding it, like instead of having to like snipe someone in mid, which like, yes, this person is using their special, but like more often than not, we're probably not going to be able to get the pick unless we compromise our position like significantly. 2 shots, no OS. That sounds right. It's definitely not 1. It probably is 2, especially after some of the changes. But yeah, I'd rather us kind of like focus our attention over here. Unless for you, if you think that this was like when they end up using their special, like when they use this Booyah, if this was like if you know you can punish this and you made a mechanical mistake, which I don't think is the case, but if you do think that that's the case, then I would still be scared about doing this, just because if you drop here, you're basically, your team is fighting a person down for the rest of this push. I'm fine with us trying to go for a play. I don't know if this is even worth it. Because even if you get this, like, let's say you get this pick, but you've also like traded effectively, because you're no longer able to help with this push. And again, I talk about it, but like, you know, Rainmaker being a speed mode, it means that if you're, you know, the time that it takes for you to do this and flank around, or the time it takes for you to like jump back and then get back into position, you've already missed them getting points. It's like, fortunately your teammates were able to find the stop, but we have to be very, very, very careful here. Because your teammates probably think that you're with them, and then when you go for this type of play, like you cannot help them in any meaningful way for the next handful of seconds. And that's something we need to be very careful about, putting ourselves into those positions. Zipline to throw a bomb in mid. Yeah, you could potentially. If you inch up into the zipline too much, you're liable to potentially get picked by stuff. So when they have all this paint, we have to be a little bit careful that there's not someone ready to punish us, for someone that like has the range of a ball point. But yeah, it definitely is a way that you can get some extra range to poke at the enemy team. But I'm just very scared about this whole situation. Because if your junior here immediately gets splatted and 2 of your teammates are watching this, like they get a free push to like 30 plus. And whether you get this pick or not, like does not matter. It does not matter in the least. I don't hate the, like, it's a very creative idea. Oh, it is too? Okay, gotcha, thank you. It's a creative idea, but it goes against what's required of us here. Yeah. Even here, dropping is like a little bit scary, but you were able to push the enemy team back into mid, so it's like, it's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't stay up for too long. There's like the same problem with staying in the windows and the bunkers for too long. It's like, going for this type of play, I don't hate this, but I'd rather us move a little bit farther forward, confirm the pick, ideally just, you know, in the 3 shots that it requires. Because the fact, and again, this is another problem that I do quite a bit, where I will try to start shooting them at like max range, basically. But they're focused on something else. So I'd rather you like move forward. I mean, you can find a pick on this person or this, like, I don't really care who you decide to fight. You can also, you know, even slow play it in certain spots, but if we're going to commit for one of these, if we're going to commit to one of these plays, we have to be like very, very quick to do so. Like we have to be quick to be in and quick to be out. Or, you know, we can get the pick and look to continue on to someone else, or, you know, but we have to always be moving, because like sitting anywhere in mid, I would say like, this isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But if you sit in like any of these areas, and honestly, even like later on in the push, like even any of this, like if you sit in any of these areas marked for too long, there's so many crossfire opportunities for you to like just completely get shut down. That's like a lot of times when you watch short range shooters fight on this map, they'll play like either they'll push through in mid and like push behind the enemy team before they start fighting. You know, because like you're sitting in mid versus like pushing like potentially past them. They'll either push past and play behind the enemy team when they try to go for fights, or they'll play like the sides a little bit more and either use like trenches to go around, or they'll like sit on the side and like, you know, slowly shark their way up and allow the enemy team to get closer. So it's like, it's a very quick pick and then like move out, or, you know, reposition, whether it be aggressive or defensively, either way is fine. You know, it depends on context, but we can't just like sit out in the open for too long. It's gonna get, like, that habit is gonna get us into more trouble than it's worth. Seal off the corner so they can't get back to Rainmaker. That's fair, yeah. Yeah. Like, some of these pushes are a little bit scary, but like, again, you're able to get away with it because you're continually moving with all that. But your team's able to find the stop. Did we not get pop? I can't tell. I'm assuming since it has, yeah, we haven't gotten the pop yet. I don't know. We should probably do that. Yeah. Yeah, like we missed the window of getting 3 down there. Would I want to keep a similar position to that if I was on Squelchies? Like when you initially pushed in the mid against their team? In the pits around mid? We'll go over that in a second. So like in this type of position, I would look to probably play wider. Like getting a bomb like in this area is like very good because either these people get stuck or like they move back and they get splatted. So like both weapons can do that pretty well. But yeah, I would, with VDS in this type of situation, which I think you're talking about the other one, but in this type of situation, I wouldn't be playing like up into mid. I would probably, like, I wouldn't look to play on left side because your team's already like covering it, but I would either look for an angle like all the way on the right side and like flank around them, or like you can kind of generally poke at them from, you know, maybe you can use like this as cover potentially and have the option to play on top of this little block or maybe play around the right side. But we want to be able to not get beamed by anyone on their team at any given point and have an easy out. And I think we're just committed a little bit too far forward. But I probably would just poke at poke with bombs in that situation until there's a clear angle where you can't get. Because when you're in mid like this, there's just like there's too many angles for people to like fight you on. And I don't like us being like in the middle of the map. That's like the thing I'm scared about. But I think you're talking about this next play when we start moving forward. So this whole play here, I just think we're too central when we're committing, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't think that we fight the person that's trying to drop, like, under the ledge, if that makes sense. Like, if you wanted to, and it looks like you're trying to go for a play over here, like if you're VDS, you can potentially look to like poke at this person if you like roll very quickly, but again, you're kind of like slowing it down. Like we don't necessarily need to like take these fights, if that makes sense. Because like we don't even have Rainmaker to like push kind of thing. Like going for these types of plays are like a little bit too risky. Because realistically right now one of our teammates isn't even here. And like I'd rather push these types of plays when we're like at full strength. This feels like very scrappy. But I mean, you could like getting underneath this ledge does keep you more safe. I don't think now is the time or place to really go for these types of plays. Like now that you're here, I do like your pathing of moving this way to cut off the angle with the BP. But I feel like we just shouldn't even really be playing for this right now, if that makes sense. It just feels unnecessarily like risky. Oh, we didn't even get the pop here. We just threw a bomb at it and we kept fighting. Like, yeah. Like we're just too fast in general. Like it's hard to put this fight into context without us moving the Rainmaker. Because Rainmaker can also do a good job of like pressuring these areas. But without Rainmaker, like this push is like useless. But the other thing is like you're not playing with as much pressure as you could be. And like there's spots where you can poke at the ball point, even though they outrange you. There's points where you can poke at them and quickly reposition with VDS, but that's where you need threats and pressure of other things. And like this team plays differently when Rainmaker's over here versus like they're getting Rainmaker shots like lobbed at them to where they're at now. Your team plays differently as well because like they can't really follow up. Too far to catch it. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need to secure the Rainmaker here, and then yeah, we can't keep going for these plays. Like again, we're effectively sitting out in the open. It's like the same problem with fighting in top mid. Like again, this idea is like it makes sense, but we already need to be in a position to be able to reposition. Like I still don't think that we should be going for these types of plays. But B, like if we're gonna go for those kinds of flanks, like we should already be like probably like over here and closer to the wall before we go for that type of like, because if we go for this, if we show our position and we go for like shots on this type of play, we need to immediately be able to reposition. And with something like shot, we can't safely do that from mid. VDS has a slightly easier time because it has more mobility and more range, but yeah, I don't know. I know the idea you're trying to go for, but we can't necessarily like try to force these plays like the same way that we're doing it. Especially in comp, like those sometimes in solo queue people just kind of give you those opportunities, but it happens less and less in comp. This is very scary. This is so uncomfortable. Oh no. Yeah, your whole team kind of puts you in a very uncomfortable position. I wouldn't commit to playing against the sloshing machine, but yeah, we can't look to drop on this this sloshing machine. Especially when we go farther, like because in both of these two times that you died to the sloshing machine, you were moving here, you move this way, and then up here you move this way. Like in both of these cases, you're moving away from your team. So like you're just isolating yourself. And if you're isolating yourself on top of a like around the ledge at any way against a sloshing machine, like you should always lose those. Especially if they like know where you're positioning and like where you're at. Alright. We can finally breathe easy. Let's go. Alright. Yeah. I think getting that pick is like good. I don't know. When we start moving forward, it's hard to So yeah, with 2 of them down and the enemy team out of position, I think it's good for us to move forward. Like, taking this checkpoint is good. I don't think we don't need to commit though. Like, we're getting this checkpoint because we can, but this isn't a push, if that makes sense. So if I'm you in this position, I'm probably just gonna stay up here. Like, A, make sure that we get this podium painted for our teammate, which it's already painted. But like, just, you know, get a bomb over here, get a bomb back here. Like, the best you can do in the situation is like, so goal number 1 is like, we need the check. We're taking this very weird, like, we're sacrificing a lot to get this check, which I think in this spot, there's less of a, I think it's worth. I think the sacrifice of like this person going down is like fine if we get the checkpoint. But the other thing that we want to do is like, we want to mitigate the risk. So I think you're fine to like sit here. There's too much uncertainty with like everything that's happening here. Especially with the way that this whole situation formed. Like, 2 of them were down, so like 2 of them are coming out of spawn. The other thing is like, the other 2 people, and we can go back from an overhead, but they're probably like pushing in from mid somewhere. Because like they're on your side of the map, and then they're like, oh shoot, they're taking Rainmaker, so I'm gonna try to cut that off. So we should realistically be expecting someone over here, but instead of like dropping, either, you know, if you want to commit to a shark, which feels risky, honestly, we probably can sit in squid form up here, because like, who's gonna check up here when there's our Rainmaker, you know? But like, we can use the Rainmaker as bait. But I just want checkpoint and like nothing more, because we kind of need to like help with mid. But what's an interesting perspective of pushing past the Rainmaker. You can do that. My only concern is the fact that like, we're not going to get any help. If we move past the Rainmaker here, we know there's going to be people pinching here, and we know there's people coming out of their spawn, and they're probably going to be setting up on top right. The Rainmaker respawning? Yeah, I mean, potentially. I don't hate the idea. It's a very risky idea, but I think it makes sense. We just have to know that like, if we're gonna push past, we're either banking on the fact that someone's swimming out this way, which we can see there is someone swimming out this way. So like, maybe there's someone swimming out this way that we can catch, or like maybe there's a drop that we can catch. Yeah, watch the flank in mid. This is the biggest concern. I'm fine getting the checkpoint and just surviving. The other thing is that we're close to our special. So when this person starts pushing you, like, your teammates are also going to push behind them, and then now this person is pincered between you and like your teammates that should be in mid. We'll see from an overhead how this plays out, but it's really important to like, I don't know. I don't think we like, because you're moving forward and like playing in a way where it's like, oh, like, we're gonna get like a big push out of this, and we don't have the control to confidently say that. If you can find yourself in a crafty enough position to find one, even just one pick, but like one, especially 2 picks, then it's like worth. But I think I went way too far back. Now we're chilling. All right, so let's look at this from the overhead. So your teammates are fighting. Okay, they actually got fully pushed over this way. Interesting. All right. So it happened a little bit slower than I was expecting, but yes, eventually these people start pushing in. I'm surprised that I mean, this fight from them is, I don't know. Again, it's risky, especially when they know the Rainmaker's moving, but I'm surprised they didn't cut their losses and just start pushing this way faster, but nonetheless, like we know that at some point they're going to be collapsing around here, and I don't want to put myself into a position where we're doing that. So like that's the concern about dropping in this situation. If you want to, like instead of dropping, like I said, you can kind of sit here. You can potentially help with pop. You have a Zuka option that you can go for on this person, on anyone that's like frantically moving in from mid. Like there are some options there if you slow it down a little bit. If you are going to push, like, so if we are going to take a fight, we should just continue to move forward. Like if our goal is to look for a fight after pop, we should continue to move forward so that we don't get pincered by these two people. Because if we sit in this area, we never live, and we probably don't even get a pick either. But if we commit to just these people, like, and we keep moving into their base, like these people aren't going to be there in time while we're taking this fight. I still don't think this fight against the bucket, the sloshing machine, and the ballpoint, I don't think is very good. But you can potentially catch them off guard, and you can use this Rainmaker as bait. I just don't think there's enough space. At first glance, for me, I don't think there's enough space to want to go for this type of play. But we have to commit to one side or the other if we are going to go for something. Popping around that corner to go defend, they have less time to react. If you push forward like that and you have the timing, hugging the right wall. Right wall, right wall, right wall. Oh, like this wall? Like sitting here? Like swinging around? Other wall. Oh, like over here. Gotcha. Yeah, playing wide here, a lot of times people don't expect it quite as much. A little bit farther forward. So like, oh, like up here? You're saying? I don't know if you can make it to there in time. Like, yes, if you can get here, you're chilling. But I feel like because we have to paint our way forward, if we didn't have to paint, I really like this play. I just don't think the timing works out going from here to here in the same time that these people are responding in. Bomb forces the timing? Yeah, I mean, it's an idea. That's a little bit too risky for me to feel comfortable with, but that's not saying it's good or bad. It's stylistically a little bit different from how I play. But I like that it's a comprehensive idea, and it could totally work. To me, it's high risk, high reward, which after the first checkpoint is probably the best time to go for one of those types of plays, honestly. They don't see you as they drop. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, again, if you can get to that position in time, yeah, for sure. That's the big brain Rainmaker play. It's kind of, yeah, I was gonna say we probably should be looking to be a little bit more shots, but oof. Almost the clip-worthy play. Yeah, you were in a little bit of a tough spot there, but I think you played it about as well as you could. I probably would have got a bomb out a little bit earlier, because if they blitzed it forward, they probably break through into the 20s, but yeah, Eo was up slowly. Yeah, I wouldn't sit here for too long. Yeah, we're getting caught in spots. Like, this spot isn't bad if you're stealthy, but you're not stealthy because they know you're here. Like, we were just fighting with them. Like, once I start shooting you, like, we can't sit here for like we sit here for a second and then we like back up this way, or we look for a push or something. But we can't just sit here and feel like we're being like stealthy because they know you're here. Especially in an organized, like in solo queue, you might be able to catch this drop, and even in this game, we might be able to catch this drop, but you have to actively be looking for an aggressive play here. We can't just sit here and like hope that something happens, because over time we're just gonna get collapsed on, which is exactly what happens here. And it's the same concept of just like kind of sitting out in the open for a little bit too long. Again, I like the ideas, but it feels like we're playing a little bit. I don't know if these are the right opportunities, if that makes sense, to be going for these types of plays. Like there's nothing else happening on the map to like force them to like there's nothing happening there to like force them to drop out. I'll go back to it real quick. Oh shoot. I didn't go back far enough. Because realistically, like, why is the zap gonna drop, you know? Like, is the zap gonna go for a flank onto the Rainmaker? Like, are you banking on the fact that this person's gonna, like, drop over here? It just, like, in general, what is the reasoning behind looking for a play on the left side? Other than, like you said, yeah, solo queue brain. I forgot concerts thing. Because realistically, they shouldn't be fighting over here anyways. Like, if you wanted to play more centrally, and like, if you're worried about the flank, you can still push up and like get paint and like, you know, in the back of your mind, and like you can constantly be checking for someone to look to drop. But we don't want to like force a fight over here because no one on your team none of these people want to help you. Not because they don't like you, but just because like they're going, they have other plans. They're going this way. They're not worried about anything that's happening over here. It's like if you do see this person jumping, like dropping, you can be opportunistic and get the pick. But realistically, there's no reason for this person to like drop, kind of thing. Honestly, this kind of drop is a little bit scary. They do time it with the Booyah Bomb, so they're covered on the left side for at least a little bit. But this is very scary for them to drop on. Obviously, they're dropping on it because they want to like secure this pick. But yeah, if we're able to back up in this type of situation, and then there's two of them stuck over here, we could potentially get some value out of that. But there's too much happening on the map right now. And the fight in the play that you're looking to go into, your team does not want to fight with. Because y'all need to get a lead, and y'all are pushing it on the right side, so they don't really care about the left side. Like, if you're being sneaky and they don't know that you're pushing... Because, like, you can go for this, like, far left flank and flank behind their podium. Like, that's not bad, and that's something you can be doing as a... it's like an option. It shouldn't be the option, but it is an option for you as the V-shot. But, you know, if their enemy team is already over here, like, don't entertain that. Like, they're in a relatively bad position. Like, that zap was in a bad position. We don't want to entertain that idea. Just keep it in your mind. Like, keep it in the back of your head. Like, okay, there's a chance this person flanks. And if they do, they're, like, kind of throwing because I'm ready for it. But yeah, don't try to, like, take the first fight. It's like, oh, someone's over here. Let's fight it. And I think when they're pushing here, again, I think we're just playing a little bit too fast. We're like playing too fast to try to get picks against like both of these weapons, like outrange us. Like we're fortunate they're trying to move up and like hit us and stuff, but like these people can be stalling, and us going for the more aggressive play, like they can kind of just like stuff us. Yo, what's up, Astra? How you doing, friend? How is everything? Like, this is good. This being over here, like threatening on this rail, and like Putz was saying, like getting bombs over the top is like good. But we don't want to like full commit into two things that outrange us, because both of them should be able to stuff us. I know that like we're kind of panicked. There's not a lot of time left. This team's still pushing. We need to stop the Rainmaker, but we have more time than we think we do. Knocked out a Squid Junction. It's tough. But I'm glad you're doing well. Also, welcome in Gunpoint. Hello, hello, hello. I think I tried. You were trying to get yourself into the left flank. Should have abandoned it as soon as I saw someone there, yeah, for sure. And that's exactly the you know, that flank is an option and not the option. And you were forcing it like it was like the option. Which like in your head, it might be like, okay, I want to go for this flank. But exactly like you said, once the conditions are no longer met, look for the new opportunity. And with their zap already dropping, and especially, you know, with a second person trying to support it, it's like, oh, there's a new opportunity here. But like take the time against their team and stuff, like give your teammates an opportunity to like help with this play. You're trying to speed up this play when we don't need to. We still have plenty of time. The situation isn't as bad as you think. It's still not great for y'all, but it's not as bad as you think it is. A 17 push makes it abysmal for you all. Even then, it's not the worst, but, you know. Nice job. Okay, I was gonna say, you're probably not gonna hit that shot, but you, hit those shots. Alright, you're different. And again, same thing here. We don't need to rotate. I think this is like another important piece with how you're approaching this, which like your shot is cracked. Your mechanics are very good on all the weapons that you play. Oh no, the flanker. Oh, it's so scary. That's tough. So this final push here is like, again, another really important point to bring up. Because you're giving these people value. Yeah, almost had it at the end. I don't know what y'all ended up getting to, but like, again, this is the difference between 40 and 17. Y'all probably would have won there if you were able to stop them at like 40 or like 35 or something. But a really important thing, because again, this is the second time where it happened. If there's someone that's looking to like threaten a flank, so like, if they're ballpoint sitting over here, this is like great for you all, you know? Like we're fine with ballpoint being out of play. We just like go, and then this person doesn't matter. Yes, the inkjet is a little bit scary, but like they're also scary over here when we're trying to push through. But like, don't entertain this person. The same thing with Zap over here. When your teammate has Rainmaker and y'all are looking to push on the other side of the map, like don't entertain these fights. Like, okay. So this is the difference. Mentally put like some part of your brain should be mentally processing that there's someone over here, but your positioning, your like body language, I guess, like in the game shouldn't, and especially you shouldn't be rotating for this. Like you shouldn't be committing to this type of play. You need to be aware that it's there. Like, I'm glad you see this person's here and like, you know, oh, this is a threat. We need to be careful about this. But we don't respond to this by like running at them. Because at that point, again, if they're over here, they're effectively dead. Because when y'all start pushing the Rainmaker this way, either they flank in mid like a, which is very, very risky, or they like jump back, you know? But don't feel the need to entertain that. Yeah, they already jumped back at this point. But like, we don't need to entertain that at all. Because if they start flanking in mid, this is where like you start doing stuff in mid, but like you can turn around, you can map check very quickly. Like you have a bunch of pain over here. You can quickly see like what this person's up to. But we can respond to the person over here by sitting like like instead of being over here, we can be up here. Like we can actively be helping out the important part of the map, which is this push. And in order for this person to get value, like either they have to inkjet from over here, which is a big waste of their special to win the game, or they have to drop, you know, down like one of these two areas. Like either they're going to drop this way or they're going to drop this way. And you can respond to both of those by sitting in mid. Let them come to you. Don't force running at them. Because you're taking yourself out of the match. Instead of being, oh no, there's someone behind us, they might flank us. You should be like, oh, there's someone behind us, like they're making a mistake. You know, I need to make sure that they don't actually get any value out of it, but they're getting value by throwing you all the way to the the left side of the map. Like this pick is good. I don't know if you're the right weapon for this type of play, but the idea is fine. I wouldn't overcommit though. Like I don't think we try to like pick their entire team. I think this is kind of a one and done type of situation. Which again, this pathing is a little bit awkward. Like they might have seen you when you like drop off of the sledge. If you came in from this way and found this pick, like this is like where the ledge play works. Because this person shouldn't be looking at you because they need to focus on where the objective is. And this is why playing around the ledge now makes sense. The two other times you were playing around ledge over here and you were down here, there was no, like Rainmaker was unpopped on the other side of the map, which is the reason why the ballpoint was able to like focus on you. Used to playing it like a bucket, yeah. The different weapon can go for it. Again, it's still fine as a shooter. You can get the pick and you can like rotate around. I've had successful like in-game pushes going for that, but again, it's just the decision. Like we're able to get underneath the ledge enough before this person realizes it, which like they could have also inkjetted and splatted you, but even if they inkjet there, it's like still good for you because like they can't use the inkjet on the Rainmaker if they use it to splat you, and your team is still safe enough to wait it out. But like we get this pick and we move. We have to trust that our teammates aren't going to like walk into the enemy team. Like then we have a bubble and we have like mid if we need to. If we get backed up into mid, we like you have to trust that your teammates are going to slow down. Like you can let them know in comms, like I'm going for a play on left, like give me a few seconds, or like, you know, I have a bunch of them distracted. Like you feed them some information of like what you're trying to do and like what you want out of them. You know, like if 3 of them dropped on you, which is pretty extreme, but like let's just say 3 of them dropped on you, then it's like, you know, 3 dropped, like go. Versus like, you know, I gotta, you know, no inkjet, I'm flanking left. Give me a few moments. And like, you know, they'll still slowly move forward, but they can understand, okay, we got the pick, we're gonna get this left flank, we're just waiting on, you know, Nia to get all the way up here. Once Nia's on the podium, like we can look to like push with that and we can win the game with that type of play. But yeah, we shouldn't be going for these fights. That's a one and done situation. Just keep moving. Because if you move this way, like if this person follows you, that's good. That means your team's fighting a 3v2 over here. And if they don't, that's why you communicate it to your team. So if this person's like, oh, that person's playing over here, we can just stop the Rainmaker and end the game. So if the sloshing machine decides not to look at you while you're going for this left flank, then you tell your team, give me some time because I need to get into position. You know, y'all have to stall for a few seconds while I get into position. And then you let your team know, you know, I'm at podium, I'm looking to push. And keep tabs with your teammates. Like when you're going for these flanks, keep tabs with your teammates to let them know, like, you know, how much time they need to stall, how close they are to, you know, like try to keep those timing windows nice and clean as best as you can so that they can like properly react to what's going on. But like this idea here is good because we're threatening somewhere else. But yeah, these plays in mid, fighting for this, weren't good because this over here. So, but yeah, overall, I think there's probably a couple of common pitfalls that I saw that I would be a little bit more concerned with. I think holistically, like time and place is like the biggest part of all this. When it comes to aggro, when it comes to flank. Oops. Like when we're flanking, when we want to like ledge camp, we shouldn't go for like, you know, if we're going to chase an enemy, if we see the ballpoint over here and we're gonna rotate to chase them, like there's a time and place where all these are fine, but there were certain spots with like this ledge camp where like it was okay. Like going for the play at the end on the BP, finding the pick, stopping the jet, that's a reasonable risk because you'll need a really big push, so you need a pretty moderately sized risk to be able to like stop them. But you know, if they're sitting over here and your team's pushing Rainmaker over here, like we don't need to like move ourselves into a position where we're like stuck over. Like we don't need to entertain these ideas. Same thing with some of the aggression that you have with like Rainmaker stuff. Like you do a really good job of staying alive. When the enemy team was pushing in once, y'all got a pick. I think it was on the zap. Y'all got the initial pick on the zap, and then you take the rail and you like jump off of the rail and like start trying to fight the machine, start trying to fight the stamper. And like in those situations, it's like we don't need the aggression. We need to take into account the fact that this pick on the zap is like really good for us. It allows the rest of our team to really assist with this whole play. So we don't need to like take the first fight that we find, because fighting either of these in open space is really bad for us as a V shot. They outrange us and we're not going to win them. We're very predictable because the only way for us to push them in this spot, there's like we take the rail or we just like run at them, and both of them are very predictable. There's no cover to like help us get into position to take that fight properly. Oh shoot. So we need to be like mindful of like why we're going for things. We don't go for things because we're in position to do so, or in our head we're like, oh, I'm going to do this. You know, you can have an idea, but we need to be very quick to react to those types of situations. So that's one thing that I definitely would say keep in mind. And then also with some of the, I guess it was over on this side, but like some that aggressive play in the mid, like we need to avoid fights in open. A lot of the situations need to be like one and done. Like you find yourself in good aggressive situations to find that first pick, but you have to immediately reposition after that first pick. We gotta go. So so yeah, it's really important in these types of situations to understand that. We don't want to like wherever we end up for these advantageous fights, like these very circumstantial type plays where, you know, their team is like pushing back this way and we can like cut them off and find the pick. In almost all of these cases, we're probably just going to find that one pick and then we back up. And we need to get into the habit of not overcommitting to that first play. We did it when they were pushing back here. We did it at the very end when we got this really like this huge pick against the ballpoint. And we just need to like, you know, whether it be back up or continue on to this left flank or, you know, go back through mid and help our team with the play on right. I don't care how you play it, but be conscious that we need to continue to move. And there were spots where you were like continuously moving, especially around like these ledges, which is good. But it's finding the right time to go for those types of things. So overall, I think you probably erred on the side of being too aggressive in spots where you didn't need to, but there were certain points of the map where it was very, like the picks that you did get were very important, but you can't immediately die after getting those high value picks because they lose a lot of value at that point when you're no longer a threat. So yeah, overall very solid. Like again, I think the big thing to call for from these stats are like, it's not that 11 deaths are bad by any means, but just contextually, like this, in this game we didn't need the 11 deaths. These deaths happened from overstaying after we got our picks. Like we very easily could have been like 18 and 8, even if we were like 18 and 9, and one of those one of those deaths, instead of dying, we flanked around left side and pushed behind podium. That could have won the game for our team. But I think mechanically you're a very, very good player. We just need to be a little bit more methodical about why we're taking the plays that we're trying to take. And it can be hard to do in the moment. That's why, like, you know, VOD reviews are really helpful. That's why stacking a bunch of games in solo queue or, you know, playing scrims or whatever, that's why it's super beneficial, because it's important over time to be able to make that kind of stuff work. And you know, understand like, oh, I can find this opportunity and then kind of keep moving. The very fortunate thing I would say in your position though is like, you're doing the hard part very well. I think you're comfortable being very aggressive. You're comfortable going for potential game-winning plays. And instilling that mindset into someone is like hard to do. It's something that I'm slowly trying to work on. So kind of keep at it. But you know, stay hungry, stay aggressive when you look for those plays. In spots where they no longer look like good plays, if something happens in the moment that's like, oh, this, you know, oh, I'm gonna go for this left flank. Oh wait, someone's already dropped on left. You know, be comfortable enough to like decide not to do that and play, you know, play off of their mistake of dropping left when we're moving Rainmaker right, instead of trying to take a fight with them. And the other thing is just, you know, find that initial pick and then keep moving. Always keep moving. That's the sad reality of Splatoon, competitive Splatoon at least, is that you shouldn't be going for like Twitter clips. Like a lot of times the plays that we go for are like, oh my god, like they're the types of plays that you'd see on Twitter of like, I cannot believe we just made this work. That was incredible. Because those things don't happen often. That's why you don't see them all the time, and that's why they are, you know, that's why people enjoy them so much, because it's like, this doesn't really happen all that much. And when it's the problem of like a lot of the social media, Twitter type of thing. It's just like social media in general, people always show like their highlights, and they always show their best plays, but they don't show the plays where they go for something too greedy and they get immediately punished, you know. So you have to keep in mind when people just go for the 4 picks in a row, the other 15 times that they did that, they just traded. I have to move in my movement shooter. That is the short of it for sure. But really good stuff. I think you will be very successful when we shore up and just when we find these little pockets of discipline that we can add to our game. You are going to be super cooking. Super cooking. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. I look forward to playing against y'all in the future. Is there an expected date? It should be next week, truthfully. There's still some reviews I have to do. I'm actually gonna dip out here in a bit because I have to go attend to some things. But I might do a stream later tonight. I probably will actually use that time to make a video, but I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing more reviews tomorrow. So yeah. If I can get through the reviews fast enough, then I can potentially look to maybe open it up. But yeah, they haven't announced the patch, but usually it gets released a few days after they announce it. And we're at the mid-season, so it realistically should be next week. So, yeah. Gotta get a good Squelchies VOD. Let's go. Squelchies is scary. Scary to play, but also annoying to play against. Like a disciplined Squelchy is very scary. Unpack is a lot about overexposing angles on Rainmaker. Hard to teach, but once it clicks. Yeah, it's hard. There are some plays I got rewarded for a play on Manta that dealt with line of sight that I just didn't really think about. Like I didn't realize how much safety and lack of visibility people had when you like push into their like pit area, like close, like that pit in front of their spawn. Like you can drop from their back street and like be able to like get into their base without a lot of struggle to do so, which I didn't expect. But yeah, it's one of those things that you have to be a little bit more, yeah, you have to be aware about them. And I'm sure there's a lot of those. Humpback definitely is a map that probably has them, and I don't certainly know all of them. I get trolled because it's me. Have you tried making the video putting on a disguise? And no, I'm kidding. Maybe if you were Putz 13 with the cool looking hat, you'd be cooking. VDS is especially fun to skirmish with on Haggle. It's really easy to stall on the side routes. Yeah. Haggle is such a good map. Some people don't like it, but it's really good. Yeah. Sometimes with those pushes and stuff, like context definitely like matters and stuff. And it, when you're making that large of a video, which I think it was a Splatoon 2 video if I recall correctly. But yeah, sometimes it's hard to put the whole nuance and everything. So good for Splatoon 3, man. I have some hot takes about Splatoon maps y'all aren't ready for. So instead of going through them, let's call it a stream. Cactus is streaming. Go watch them. Cactus is awesome. Cactus is going to be playing in day 2 of Low Ink. They qualified for top 32. So if y'all are up in the morning tomorrow, definitely, you know, they should be streaming it, I'm sure. So go make sure you check them out and give them support. That is still moving on Wahoo changes it completely. That's interesting. Take care. Thank you for the submission, Nia. And like I said, I think you're on a path to very quickly shoot through the level. So I'm excited. If you have any questions, obviously, you know, reviews are good. If you have any other specific questions, feel free to DM. I'm more than happy to help. But take care, everyone. Appreciate you all. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. I'm working on those videos. I'm not gonna lie, like having a video pop off a little bit more, like for my expectations, like it popped off more than I was used to, like gave me a lot of motivation. So I'm excited to dive into it tonight. But yeah, hopefully I can get those out. But yeah, support the YouTube, support the Twitch, hydrate, support yourself, be kind, and I'll talk to y'all soon. I need to hit the raid button before I end stream, or else it might break. Alright, later.